Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Gaurav and in this video, we are going to talk about how to structure an offer that stands out when buying a property in the Greater Toronto area in 2026. Over the last few years, a lot has changed. Prices have come down and in certain situations, homes are selling at heavy discounts compared to where they were at the peak. In some cases, these lower prices are justified. And in other cases, they simply reflect a seller adjusting from an unrealistic starting point. So in this environment, the focus shifts from is this cheaper than before to is this the right price for this property today and how should my offer reflect that. By the end of this video, you will see how price, conditions, closing date, deposit, and the fine print all connect to create a great offer. When you submit an offer, you'll know exactly why it's structured the way it is and how each part is designed to protect your financial position and your ability to close smoothly. Let's start with where the GTA market actually is right now. Now, there are still pockets and price points that are competitive, especially for move-in ready homes in prime locations, but there are also properties that have been sitting longer, seeing price reductions, and ultimately selling for less than they would have just a couple of years ago. In other words, while the general sentiment favors the buyers and prices have for sure fallen from the peak a few years back, but it is still a property-specific market. Some homes are still commanding strong prices while others are clearly in a discounted or heavily discounted territory. If you're thinking of buying or upgrading to a new home, then that creates two responsibilities at the same time. The first is to recognize when the market is giving you a genuine opportunity. The second is to present yourself as a serious buyer when you do decide to move forward. This is why a conversation about writing an offer should start with the fair market value of a property. In a discounted market, it can be tempting to look only at the listing price and the reductions and say, this looks cheap compared to last year, so it must be a deal. But the fair market value is not based on last year or peak pricing. It is based on what similar properties are actually selling for right now in the current conditions with the current buyers. So the first step we take when analyzing properties is to look at recent sales of comparable homes in the same area, adjusting for its size, layout, condition, and features of finishes. We also look at how long those homes were on the market and whether they sold below, at, or above their list prices. Imagine a property that was originally listed for much higher, came down in price, and is now sitting at a level that looks attractive. Now, if we compare it to recent sales and see that even after the reduction, it is still above what similar homes have sold for, then the discount may simply be a correction from an over-ambitious starting price. On the other hand, if the current asking price is in line with or below recent comparable sales and the condition of the property is good, then that might represent genuine value in today's market. Once you understand where fair market value sits, you can decide how to position the purchase price in your offer. If the home is clearly overpriced, your strategy might involve a more conservative number and patience. If the home is fairly priced or underpriced in a discounted market, then your focus shifts from can I get this cheaper to how do I secure this at a good price while protecting my downside. And that is where conditions come in. Conditions are contingencies you can put in an offer. They protect you across various areas. One of the biggest misconceptions or arguments I hear an average realtor make is that this is a discounted market, so conditions are no longer as important because there is less competition. In reality, conditions are just as important, and in some cases more important because you now have the breathing room to use them properly without having to compete against any aggressive offers. Let's begin with the financing condition. Even in a discounted environment, lenders and appraisers are cautious. They are looking at the same sold data that we are, and they want to be confident that the property supports the loan you are taking on. A financing condition gives you a defined period, for example 5 business days, to reach out to your mortgage agent and have them submit your application for a mortgage. The banks then look at the property you want to purchase and for the price that you want to purchase it and confirm if they would be comfortable giving you the funds when it's time for you to close the property. Without a financing condition, you are already fully committed. And if any issues arise with the mortgage, such as the lender not appraising the property for the price you purchased it, or the lender not being comfortable with your financial situation, then it would be very difficult for you to back out of the transaction without significant monetary loss. With the financing condition, you have the space to address any issues and, if necessary, step away within the agreed timeline with your deposit returned. In a discounted market, the emphasis is less on outbidding every other buyer and more on ensuring the price makes sense based on what the market data shows. Alright, now let's talk about the inspection condition. Discounted or not, every property has a physical reality. There may be reasons why a home is priced the way it is. The seller might be adjusting for its condition, or they might be hoping that the buyers overlook certain issues. An inspection condition allows a professional inspector to review the property within a specific time frame. Again, like 5 business days after your offer is accepted. They will look at the major systems like structure, roof, plumbing, electrical and mechanical, and provide you with clear insights and a report. If the home needs work, a discounted price might still make sense, but now you can quantify the repairs instead of discovering them by surprise after closing. After the inspection, you would have 3 options. You may proceed as is, or negotiate the purchase price again, or decide that the combination of price and work required doesn't align with your plan and you'd like to back out of the transaction. In other words, the inspection condition helps you distinguish between a good deal with known work and a deal discounted for reasons that are more serious than you expected. Now let's move on to legal conditions. For buyers considering duplexes or properties with basement apartments, the legal side becomes especially important in this market. With shifting prices, some investors and owners may be selling properties where the second unit is not fully compliant. A listing might still describe a unit as legal or income generating, but that language needs to be confirmed through proper review. Your lawyer's role is to examine permits, registrations, zoning, and any tenancy documentation to ensure that the status of the second unit matches what is being advertised. And if it does not, you need to understand the risks and potential costs to bring it into compliance. In a discounted market, a property with a non-compliant unit may look appealing on price, but that discount may not be enough once you factor in the cost and risk of correcting the situation. Legal review ensures that what appears to be an opportunity on paper is actually an opportunity in practice. Once the financial and legal side has been checked, the next question is timing, specifically the date when you will actually take the possession of the property. The closing date in an offer is the day when the transaction completes. Funds are transferred and you receive the keys. In a buyer's market such as this, sellers may have a range of motivations to sell their properties. Some may be under pressure to sell quickly because of carrying costs or a previous purchase. Others may be more flexible and open to a closing date that fits your needs. Discussing closing date is about aligning your financing and moving timeline with what the seller can realistically accommodate. If a seller needs a relatively quick closing and your financing is organized, offering that date can strengthen your position without changing the price. If you need more time to gather funds or organize your move, that can also be workable, particularly when the property has been sitting in the market for some time. The key is to be clear and realistic, so the closing date supports the rest of your offer instead of creating some uncertainty. Once the closing date is agreed upon, the focus turns to how you will demonstrate that your finances are truly in place. This is where the deposit and rest of your down payment come into the picture. In most GTA transactions, the deposit is paid within 24 hours of offer acceptance. The amount is often around 5% of the purchase price. The deposit is held in trust and becomes part of your overall down payment when the transaction closes. The remaining portion of your down payment, along with your closing costs, is then transferred through your lawyer's trust account on the completion date. From the seller's perspective, the deposit is the first tangible sign that you have real funds available and that you are committed to the agreement. In a discounted market, some buyers assume that sellers will be less focused on this, but the opposite is often true. If a seller has already adjusted their expectations on price, they will usually be very focused on the certainty of closing. Having your deposit funds ready in a checking or savings account and having a clear plan for the rest of your down payment allows you to respond quickly when an offer is accepted. Once price, conditions, closing date, and deposits are aligned, the last major piece is the period between offer acceptance and closing. And that's where detailed clauses in the Schedule A part of your offer matter. Schedule A is where many of the practical details of your agreements are set out. Our approach is to use a multi-page Schedule A to ensure key protections are included, such as specific warranties from the seller regarding mechanical systems, flooding history, cleanliness, and the condition of appliances and the property. These warranties are designed to clarify what the seller is confirming about the property and what standard they are expected to meet on closing day. Alongside these warranties, we also secure practical rights that help buyers, like the ability to schedule additional visits before closing and a final walkthrough close to completion. This ensures you can confirm the property is in the expected condition and that nothing has changed before you take possession of the property. To complement your visits to the property after you've purchased it, it is also important to think about the final walkthrough of the property. We conduct a final walkthrough for our clients, usually within 48 hours of closing or after the seller has moved out. This allows us to confirm that the property is in substantially the same condition as when you agreed to buy it. During this visit, we check that the included appliances and fixtures are still present, that there is no significant damage, and that the home has been left in a reasonably clean state. If there is an issue, your agent and your lawyer can address it before the funds are transferred. That way, the discount you negotiated on the price is not undermined by unexpected problems on possession. At this point, you can see how each part of the offer leads naturally into the next. You start by understanding value in a discounted market, you test that decision with conditions, you coordinate timing and funds, and you use Schedule A and your visits to protect your closing day. When all of these elements work together, you end up with a strong offer instead of just a low number on paper. A strong offer makes sure that the price is based on current fair market value, not simply a discount from a previously higher list price. The financing, inspection, and legal review are aligned with that price and confirm the property fits your overall plan. The closing date is realistic for you and also accommodates the seller's timeline, and the deposit and the rest of your down payment are fully planned, liquid, and ready when needed. And also the detailed clauses in Schedule A, along with your visits and final walkthrough, give you the confidence that the home's condition on closing will match what you agreed to. Taken together, these pieces allow you to take advantage of discounted or heavily discounted opportunities in the Greater Toronto area while still keeping your offer structured, protected, and appealing to the seller. If you're planning to buy in the Greater Toronto area in 2026 and want to apply this framework to your own situation, then you can book a free consultation call using the link in the description. That way, when you come across a property that is genuinely well priced in this market, you're ready to respond with an offer that is both confident and carefully thought out. Thanks for watching, and if you found this helpful, consider subscribing for more in-depth GTA real estate content and long-term wealth building strategies. And share this video with anyone preparing to buy in this market.